cannot believe I have to do this again. I've been fighting it for a while, but after taking some time to pray and seeing what God says, I think it's time for me to try again. So, yes, this will be the fourth. May I repeat, the fourth time I will be taking the MCAT. Like a breath, feel my wings spread, levitate above the ground and make eye contact with clouds. Now I'm rising, I'm soaring. I'm a mom, a non-traditional student, and yeah, I've definitely been here before. The endless flashcards, countless hours of studying, hoping for the best, being nervous, waiting for your score to get back, and the heartbreak of it not being perfect. But this is not my first, not my second, but my fourth time going through this process. But I have confidence that this time will be different. So when I took the MCAT the first time, I was so unprepared to say the least. Like, I really didn't have any idea of what I was getting myself into. As a non traditional first generation college student, let alone first generation medical student, I really didn't have anybody to give me advice. So even though I went to a college that had a lot of resources, it still turned out to be kind of a challenge for me to kind of figure out what exactly I needed. You know what I mean? Like, you're just a number at these big schools and they do help you, but unless you have find somebody who really takes the time to really walk you individually through each and every process, you kind of are just figuring out on your own. So that was me. So I studied for a few months because based off advice. And let me remind y'all, because I'm finna tell my age. This is before YouTube was a thing. This is before social media was a big thing. So how you found out about the MCAT was literally through word of mouth, or like through going through a counselor or asking a friend or another fellow pre-med student. So, and if they didn't want to help you, you kind of were just SOL. So that was kind of like my experience, to say the least. So a couple people said, "Oh, you only have to study 3 months," and da 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 da. Like, I knew nothing about taking practice tests. So my first time, I never even took a practice test. I don't even think UWorld was a thing yet for MCAT. Like, and the first time I took the MCAT, it was the old MCAT. The one and only time I took the old MCAT. There was a written part. Yeah, it was kind of crazy. So didn't do well that time. So I waited a few years. Then I came back the second time. So this time I had a little bit more advice, a little bit more understanding, but still didn't really understand the importance of practice tests. Still didn't really understand all the process it took. Practice classes or the courses to do it were like $3,000 and $4,000. Had no idea how I was going to get the money for that. And at the time I was actually studying, not studying, I was working full time as an anesthesia tech. So my studying consisted of like working 8 hours and then taking like 3 to 4 hours after work to study. And that kind of worked okay, but I just needed I just needed more support. I just needed more direction. Like, I really didn't have it, and I really didn't understand what was required. So I took it that time. And then the third time, so that time is when it was like it was some years later. So it was like YouTube was a thing. So I was able to watch YouTube videos, get a better understanding. I took more practice tests. I did take a course this time because I figured out how to get a discount, which I will tell you guys about later. um I but I was still working full time. I was still like had a lot of things going on. I had planned on taking a month off to just study before the test happened, but my boss would not let me take a month off. I was only able to take 2 weeks off. So, to say the least, even though I was more prepared and I did improve upon my score, I still was not able to break the score, even get close to the score that I wanted. So I've been trying hard. I've been doing everything I knew how to do. And it's just been really frustrating. It's just been a really frustrating journey, to be honest, because it's like, man, you're doing everything you know how to do. You're trying to get all the advice. You're trying to see all the things. It's like, you're not stupid. Like, I know I'm good at what I can do. And like, even though my undergrad grades weren't the best, like this last time I took my MCAT was after my master's. I got a 4.0 in my master's. So I know the content. I was just really trying to figure out, okay, what's the problem here? What's the disconnect? Because I know I'm smart. I know I have what it takes. I naturally do well on standardized tests. So what is the difference and what is really happening with this test? So recently I just took a break. I took a step back because sometimes when you constantly push with something, sometimes you just need to take like a step back and breather and like take time to pray and really speak to God and like, God, what's going on? So I got quiet. I took some months off. Actually, found a new mentor, and when I talked to her, she was like, "Oh, your problem isn't content. Your problem is practice." So she really encouraged me things like that. So after talking to her and her reassuring me that I know my material, I know it well, I just need more practice. Honestly, y'all, that it really took a weight off my shoulders and just helped me to breathe and like, okay, I can do this. So I talked to her. I got involved with another mentorship program and I really took a step back. And now I am super confident in this solid plan that I have. So here are 5 things that I am doing differently this time around that's going to guarantee that I will be successful and get an excellent MCAT score. What am I doing differently? Number one, I am using a community. In the past, I always just kind of did things on my own. I studied in isolation. I didn't really study with a friend, anything this time. So I joined a new mentoring program and they have just been phenomenal. This entire summer, I got to study with a group of individuals for the MCAT, and we were able to support one another. Like if I was confused about something, I had somebody else I could discuss it with, even somebody just to complain with if you're just having a rough day, or even somebody to encourage. So expanding my community and my network has been truly life changing, and I think it's really going to make a difference because when I have a problem to solve or if I'm frustrated, it's not just on me to figure it out. I have a plethora of others to kind of stand in the gap with me and to help me through these challenges. So I encourage you guys, like, rather if it's, and this doesn't necessarily mean getting a course, it can mean getting an MCAT course, but doesn't necessarily mean getting an MCAT course. It could mean just making a friend and you guys are taking the time to study together. It could mean you joining a group on Facebook of other pre-meds. It could mean anything, but two is definitely better than one. We need each other to support one another, to encourage one another, even to help you work through problems. Like, and that's one thing I definitely learned from my graduate course. Like, if there's a subject I particularly wasn't great at, it felt so good to have a classmate who was good at it support me in it, and vice versa. So I encourage you guys to build your community and make that a priority. So the next thing that I am doing this time differently to ensure a better MCAT score is I am giving myself more time. So I know this is a big thing in the pre-med world. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, you only need 3 to 4 months and you're fine. For some people that may be true, but what I've learned in my experience, especially if you're non-traditional, I have a job, I have to provide, I have to do all these other things. And a lot of times when you have minimal time on a regular basis to focus on such a big test, giving yourself more time will allow you to be able to really take the time to get to know the material, process it, things like that. Also, as a non-traditional, it's been years. I don't even want to tell you how long it's been since I've taken a physics course. So what I found out is like I literally almost have to like reteach myself some of these subjects because it has been so long. Like, I did my master's, but in my master's we were doing biochemistry, we were doing cell biology, pathology, um, physiology, things like that. We were not doing physics. Okay. So I have to go back and teach myself that. So in doing that, that's not an issue, but in doing that, I'm understanding I had to give myself time. So yes, going on YouTube is a great idea, seeing what other people are doing, but you need to make sure you find out what works for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you have a full-time job, you can't be studying 8 hours a day. That's just not feasible, it's not practical, and it's not very smart. You know, if you can do that, that's great. This summer, I was able to take time to study 7 to 8 hours a day, right? But now in the fall, I'm going back to work. You know, my daughter's going back to school. My schedule is changing, so I have to adjust accordingly. So in the past, I've been like, hey, you know, everybody's like, you only need 3 to 4 months. Doing longer is not a good idea. And that's what I did. But this time, I'm going to try something different. Now, yes, the fear with it being too long is the idea that you will forget or that you won't be consistent. And to be honest, that was definitely a concern of mine too. Like, oh, what if I get exhausted? What if I get burnt out? What if I'm not consistent? But to be honest, I'm just willing to try something different and to see how that works differently. And so I went to a conference and I met Amanda Brim from the Brim Method, and she has a calculator which I will try and um, put it below if you guys want to check out her calculator, she gave us a formula to let us know, okay, based off of what your score now is and what your score goal for the future is, this is how many hours you should be studying every day, or based on how many hours a week you have, right? So I believe, I want to say it was about like 18 hours per point or something like that. Don't quote me on it. I don't know the specifics. I don't remember. But I remember, like, because that was one of my anxieties of like, how much time do I need? But the way she broke it down in the conference workshop we did, and she was like, like you could break it down that you only need like 15 hours a week to study if you're studying for like 6 months or something like that. Me, based off of how many commitments I have, that seems like a lot more feasible. And one thing she also brought up is like, be realistic. Be realistic about how much time you really have and how much time you're really going to focus. Don't tell yourself you're going to study 40 hours a week when you really don't have time for that. Like, be real with yourself and make a schedule and make a plan that works for you. So that really gave me like a lot of peace and comfort in that. So yeah, check out her calculator to calculate how many hours a week you should study according to like when your goal test date is, how many hours a week you have available, and what score you're aiming for. So I thought that was very helpful. So right now, time I've really been focusing on getting strong in my, like, strengthening my weaknesses, which for me right now, my biggest weakness has been physics and a little bit of chemistry, even though because I just took biochem, like chemistry, I kind of got that together. So it's physics is the only one. So that's what I've really been taking the time to do. And then as we get into the fall course, I'm really going to focus on getting more practice in and things like that. So the next thing I'm doing is not testing until I'm ready. Now, this might be common sense to some of y'all. It was not common sense to me. So maybe there's somebody else out there like me who didn't understand this. But I always thought once you set the test, like that's it. You're not going to push it back. You're not going to push it forward. Like you just hope that you're ready. I am literally not taking my test until my practice score is within, somebody told me like 5 to 10 points of your practice score. There's different advice out there, but somewhat within the range of what your goal is. If within a month of your test or a couple of weeks. If you're not there, then that's when you start considering pushing back, because you got to worry about, because they have deadlines in terms of when you could push it back and when you can get a refund and this, that, and the third. So learn from my mistakes. I definitely did that last time. I waited too late to push back my test and I ended up having to cancel it and get a no-show. Yeah, big big issue. As it turns out, I was able to kind of figure that out and it took away one of my chances, which is fine because I'm really not planning on taking this test 7 times. I will not take this test 7 times. But yes, just make sure you understand what your deadlines are for rescheduling and what the refund amounts are when if you have to repay to schedule. But yeah, definitely take those practice tests. If you are not within 5 to 10 points of your goal score on average, then yeah, consider pushing back that test. If your goal is a 525 and it's a month out and you're still at 501, yeah, that's probably a good sign that you need to push it back, or and then you need to reevaluate your methods and what you're doing and then try and figure out what you're going to do going forward. So another thing I'm doing different this time around is I am doing questions sooner. That is one thing my mentor recommended. I know we are so obsessed with content review, content review, content review, and content review is important, but it's been instilled in me that this test is 40% content and 60% method. So it's not so much as you like regurgitating things that you memorize, it's learning how to reapply it in new scenarios. And in order to be able to do that, that is a skill you have to learn through practice and repetition. So through my content review, I have started off doing questions. I didn't do as many U-World questions. We did do some towards the end of like our 3 month or not 3 month, 2 month content review period. But what we did is we used exam crackers 1001 questions, and those are just like content related questions. I do recommend those, like especially for your weak areas, if you're just trying to really get how to do the material. Like I've mentioned, physics has not been my strongest topic in the past, so I just needed like to repeat questions that just to help me understand the concepts, because I've always just had a challenge with understanding physics concepts in general. So I thought that was really good for that. But in terms of practicing actual tests, Jack Weston is great for cars. I've been using a lot of Jack Weston, and of course UWorld. Like UWorld is amazing in terms of practicing actual MCAT like questions. There are also some other free resources out there where you could test if you're not ready to pay for the UWorld subscription. I will try and find some and link them below for you guys. But yeah, trying to find MCAT similar like questions to practice with and doing that sooner so you can kind of get yourself in the habit of the kind of questions you need to answer in order to do well on this test. Okay, another thing I'm doing, I'm just using different materials, and I'm just trying different things. So, this time around, I've used UWorld in the past, but I didn't make it as much of a priority, and now I'm understanding that you make like finishing all your UWorld questions. Like a lot of the people that I've talked to that have gotten like 90th percentile above, they were all like, "Yeah, I finished all my UWorld questions." So I'm making finishing UWorld a priority. This time around, I'm using Chad's Prep, which has been really good, especially again, physics has been the vein of me, right? So he's really helpful with physics, and it doesn't take a long time. So I did do Blueprint before, and I did like Blueprint, but sometimes for Blueprint, it just felt like it was so many videos and so much to get through, which is a good thing, right? You want more practice, you want review. But one thing I did appreciate about Chad's Prep is it was kind of like to the point, and it only took us like 2 months to get through the entire course. And for me, that just worked a little better for me because it just made me feel more accomplished, like I can actually get through it. And he actually had videos that were like video recordings of like lectures, and then he had review questions after every video. And it was nice to kind of just go through that specifically for physics and chemistry. um and other than that, I'm still using my old Blueprint books as well. And I'm doing a lot of YouTube. So for me, what I found out, even especially in my graduate degree, getting my graduate degree, sometimes one teacher might not, like, different teachers teach differently. Some might work better for some than others. So that's what I found. Like, if I had a professor that was a great professor, but their style of teaching just didn't match with how I learned, I can go online and have a plethora of professors that teach the way that I learned. So that's one thing I am utilizing now. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't scared. There's a part of me that is fearful that, hey, maybe I'll fail again. But what I'm doing differently, and to be honest, in the past, my past setbacks with the MCAT did cause shame. I felt like my identity was in this test, that if I didn't do well on it, that somehow that meant I wasn't good enough or not worthy of this journey. But this time I know better. I know that God defines my identity, and this test is not a reflection of who I am or what I'm capable of. It's just a stepping stone to the next level for me to accomplish my God given purpose and my God given goal. So I just want to encourage you to keep trying. If this is something that you are challenged with as well, you are not alone. Keep trying, don't give up. Keep trying new things. Make sure you find yourself a community to support, because we all need support and help to go through things. Make sure you do practice questions a lot earlier in order to review and get the feel of the test. Make sure you try some new materials. Maybe some of the same ones you worked, you just didn't use them the best that you could. Or maybe you need to try some new materials that work better for you. Also, maybe you need some more time. Maybe 3 months doesn't work for you. Maybe you need 6 months in order to thoroughly go over the things that you might have missed or to improve for better. And also make sure you are ready before you take that test. If your practice tests are not close to your goal score, don't be afraid to reschedule. It doesn't mean you're inadequate, it just means you need more time. This is my fourth attempt taking this MCAT, but I've had more peace in this moment more than ever. And it's because I understand that my identity is not wrapped up in this test. And I'm trusting God more and more every day that He has a plan for me and that I will overcome this. So, if you are going through something different, if you're going through an MCAT journey, if you're pre-med, or if you're a mom chasing your dreams, follow along with my journey. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.